The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. Read for you by Susan Bennett. Prologue. Carly. April 1965. Chapel Hill, North Carolina. No one wanted to work with the man in the wheelchair. There's something strange about that guy. One of my fellow students warned me in the hall outside the PT ward. If they try to assign you to him, say no. I remembered his warning now as I stood in the doorway between my supervisor, Betty Connor, and the ward's director, Dr. Davies. Still, I was curious about the man who sat in the wheelchair by the window, a cast on his lower leg and foot. Crutches rested against the windowsill next to his chair. He was about a decade older than me, maybe 30 or so. He looked unkempt, his blonde hair on the short side, but tousled. His facial features were slack, his eyes half closed. I could see the shadow of stubble on his cheeks and chin. "How about that patient for Caroline?" Betty asked Dr. Davies. "Broken ankle, is it?" Dr. Davies nodded, light from the ward's windows bouncing off his glasses. "Displaced fracture of the lateral malleolus," he said, "followed by surgery." Betty turned to me. "You haven't yet worked with a broken ankle, have you?" she asked, and I shook my head with some reluctance. I'd been a student intern in a private rehabilitation facility for the last 2 months, but this was my first time in the hospital ward, and although I was excited to get started, my fellow students' warning echoed in my ears. Say no. Still, the man in the wheelchair looked harmless enough. "I think it would be a good case for her," Betty said to Dr. Davies. "I think not," he said. He was holding several manila folders in his hands, and he tapped the top one with his knuckles. "The fella's name is Hunter Poole," he said. "He sustained the broken ankle falling off a 3-story building, or so he says, but we think he intentionally jumped. He's alive only because some shrubbery broke his fall. He refuses to learn to use crutches. None of our PTs have been able to get him to talk, much less engage in any therapy. He's suffering from depression and, oh, I think I heard about him." Betty cut him off. "Didn't he say he was working on the roof and just slipped?" "That's what he told the driver of the ambulance, but his explanation doesn't hold water." Dr. Davies tucked his free hand into his pants pocket. It was 9 o'clock at night, for starters, and there were no tools found on the roof or the ground, so you tell me if that sounds like he was working. We have him on suicide watch. Next stop for him is the psychiatric unit, if he doesn't begin to come around today or tomorrow. "Well, you're right that he wouldn't be a good patient for Caroline," Betty said. She looked at me. "You need to focus on building your skills right now," she said. "You don't need an unmotivated, clinically depressed suicide risk, for heaven's sake." I nodded in agreement. "There isn't anything you can do for someone who won't cooperate," Dr. Davies said. "I plan to try to work with him myself today. Everyone else has given up." The man raised his head slowly in our direction, as if he knew we were talking about him, and I felt his gaze lock onto mine. His eyes widened, brows lifting. Suddenly, he broke into a smile. "You!" he nearly shouted, his voice so loud that several people in the room turned to look at me. "You're a physical therapist, right?"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?